in. How happy would Sean McDermott be with the win today?
Well, I think he'd be happy because it's the toughest opponent that they've played thus far. I mean, it was a battle of unbeatens, and the Rams, even though they missed the playoffs last year, they're still one of the better teams comparatively. You know, they knocked off Miami the week before, so this was the toughest test so far. The fact that they were able, after making mistakes and blowing a 25-point lead, able to still come back and win with the help of a controversial call. Of course, they lost on a possession with a controversial call, shaky officiating. But I think they'll take it. They're going through growing pains, but we're seeing a Josh Allen who's gone from a competitive running quarterback to a guy who can throw for a lot of yards and win some games despite making some mistakes.
We have discussed Josh Allen more than any other quarterback in the league. Like, do you believe that this is real, or is this like his version of Linsanity where he's getting hot for a couple weeks?
Well, he is kind of a streaky quarterback, hot and off and on. He admitted today he lost his cool on the fumble. He's trying to do too much holding the football. Sometimes he's had a fumbling problem when he runs, but just the threat of the run, I think, throws defenses off, and it did with the Rams in the first half of that game. But he had 4 touchdown passes. I mean, he did have that one interception, which again was a tough officiating call. But I've covered the Bills each of the last few years since he's been drafted, and I think they've been very careful about bringing him along and now unleashing him. This is his 3rd year as a passer, using that arm, using his touch, and then giving him a guy like Stephon Diggs. They added Cole Beasley before that. They drafted a couple of young receivers. Gabriel Davis had a big game for him today, and he's part of their running game. I mean, they have Singletary, but they don't really have that superpower running back or even a stable of back. So I think he still has growing pains, but I agree. I heard you talking earlier. I think, they want to win the division. They're a playoff team last year. They got to beat the Patriots when they go head-to-head, and that's when Josh Allen will have to be at his best.
A crazy play in Seattle. We'll get to that in just a bit. Stick with us. It's Fox Sports Red Zone Radio. He's George Reister. I'm Dan Beyer. Chris Myers, who was on the call of the Rams-Bills game, joining us. I know that you're down 28-3, and George made the point as well as I was trying to wax poetically about the Rams. But what are the positives that Sean McVay can take from this? Is this a legitimate playoff team despite being down 28-3 in this contest? Where are the Rams right now, sitting at 2-1?
Yeah, no, and I think they are. I think these are both playoff teams. I mean, the Bills made it last year. The Rams would have made it with that new expanded playoff format, even though they're in the toughest division, top to bottom, with the NFC West. But I think they missed Cam Akers today, so instead of 3-pronged running attack, it's 2 with Henderson and Brown. There was some impact, but the fact that they could come back the way they did, the Bills were a very good defense. The Rams defense is what disappointed me. After the first half, they made some adjustments, but you had Josh Allen at 3rd and 22, and then you had him at 3rd and I think it was 25, and they were able to make that up, and then they had the bad interference call. They did have some injuries in their secondary. Fuller went out at one point, but Donald and Ramsey are enough to build around us, and I think that defense will be much stronger later in the year than they are right now, which I think will bail them out a lot. But yes, the Rams, and Goff is sharper than he was last year. This is looking like the year they went to the Super Bowl in terms of his efficiency in the offense with Robert Woods. And it's almost like, there's no moral victories, but to have come back the way they did, I think was impressive. And I think they'll be a team that'll be able to score on anybody.
If you were to look at the Rams, and yes, they've been playing well. Yes, this is good that they started out 2-1. But how important was it to see a bounce back and an ability to lead the team back out of Jared Goff, where he's their $100 million man, where you see a guy like Carson Wentz, who's a $100 million man, and he's not getting it done for the Eagles?
Yeah, I think it's very important. Goff told that to us, that now he's more comfortable. Each year he's grown. We were talking about Josh Allen. Goff said he has some ownership in this offense with Sean McVay, and they think similarly. They had a few mix-ups, burning some timeouts. Goff had one bad throw that was an interception, but he was harassed a lot by the defense, at least early on, and then they got patient with the running game. But they use their receivers, and this helps Goff. But when he's at his best, they use their receivers as running backs on sweeps. He's at his best. He makes a quick decision and gets rid of the ball quickly. He's a rhythm timing kind of guy. And when that's clicking, we saw that in the second half. They moved the ball very well in the first half. Their kicker missed a field goal. It was a long field goal. And then they had the turnover by Goff, but they would have had some points, at least at the end of those drives. In fact, I don't know that the Rams even punted in this game once, which is absolutely amazing. But yes, Goff, he's a run. Whether he's worth the money or not, I don't know. But he's certainly capable of holding up his end of the bargain in terms of trying to run that offense.
Find him on Twitter at @the_Chris Myers. You can see him every Sunday on the call for Fox as he was on the call of that Bills 35-32 win over the Rams today. Thanks, Chris. Great to talk to you again. Hope to do it again soon.
Yep. Yeah, always good talking to you guys. A game with two great comebacks, but the Bills was better, so it was a fun one. You guys take care.
Thanks, Chris. The crazy play in Seattle was Russell Wilson throwing a bomb to DK Metcalf, who caught the ball and then eased up at around the 10-5-yard line, only to have the ball knocked from behind, went through the end zone, and what was supposed to be a walk-in touchdown for the Seahawks ended up being a touchback. They are still tied up at 9 near the end of the first quarter in that one. There is no excuse for what DK Metcalf did in that situation.
Dude, that was like who was that? Was that Deshaun Jackson, who used to drop the ball in
Yes.
the end zone all the time? It was just as bad. Actually, it was even worse than that because DK Metcalf burned the defensive back, burned him. Russell Wilson drops a moon ball out of the sky, hits him in stride. He's cruising inside the 5-yard line, just like I'm just going to walk in, holds the ball in one hand, just kind of, he maybe 40% jogging, and the defensive back caught up to him, didn't quit on the play, and just knocked it out of his hand through the back of the end zone. See, that is a prime example why you should be penalized for fumbling out of the back of the end zone.
That's what I was going to ask. Does this change your mind on how this penalty or this play is ruled? That's the one where you're like, you know what? The Cowboys should get the ball at midfield for as dumb a play it was for DK Metcalf.
Right? That was atrocious.
Here's the other thing about him doing what he did was that it was a bit of an underthrow. So it wasn't like DK was in full stride, George. So that would tell me that if I'm the wide receiver, knowing that maybe the defensive back has the ability to make up a step on it despite having him beat, and to just try to walk in with the ball one-handed and then have it knocked out as it was at about the 2-yard line and then go to the back of the end zone. I mean, it's poor judgment all around, but I think it's about 5 times that, considering the type of throw that he was, that you don't want to hot dog it, but you definitely don't want to do it on a ball that was underthrown. That's another huge issue.
Exactly. So it goes back to this. Ball gets knocked out of the back of the end zone. Where should for the people who hate the rule, where should the Seahawks get the ball then? If you think that they should keep it after a terrible play, where not taking care of the football, where should they get it? Should they get it at the 3-yard line or the 2-yard line where he knocked it out at? No. Like, that doesn't, the defense gets no advantage from making a really, really good play. So should they get it at the 25? Should they get it at the, no. Like, there's no tenable solution that allows the offense to keep the ball. Like, just protect the football. It's like, it's like in life, right? If you do 100 miles an hour and you're speeding, then guess what? You're going to get a big old fat ticket. Sorry. Yeah, I don't feel bad.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The Lions are into the end zone against the Cardinals. Matthew Stafford with a touchdown pass. It is going to be the extra point coming up. It's Jesse James, 9-7, extra point pending. Mentioned the Seahawks and Cowboys tied up at 9 apiece. Seahawks have the ball back just underway in the second quarter. The Panthers are in the end zone against the Chargers, leading 15-7. The scoring play on a touchdown pass from Teddy Bridgewater to Mike Davis. 2:58 to go until halftime there. Colts continuing to lead the Jets 17-7 with a minute to go until halftime. And Denver's on the scoreboard. Brandon McManus a field goal. Bucks still lead the Broncos 10-3. Tampa Bay wearing their all pewter uniforms today in the Mile High City. Coming up next, will Dan Quinn have a job by tomorrow? We'll talk about that next year on Fox Sports Red Zone Radio.
Football is back, and so are we. Whether it's cracking on Brady.
Tom Brady is washed.
Baker.
Does he have good enough arm? No.
OBJ,
it's not working.
and even those rookies.
It's amazing.
When the NFL hits, we hit back on Fox Sports Radio.
BetRivers Sportsbook is ready to make this football season one to remember. All season score at BetRivers Sportsbook with free bets, odds boosts, and more. Player props, thousands of game lines, and live in-game betting. BetRivers Sportsbook delivers best-in-class sports betting experiences with outstanding customer service to back it up. Go to BetRivers.com. And if you reside in a non-regulated state, then BetRivers.net has action for you. BetRivers, your hometown sportsbook. Must be 21, must be present in Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, or Pennsylvania to play. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLE.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dealing with battery problems? We've got you. Let's start with a free battery test. If you just need a free charge, we can help with that too. And if it's time for a new battery, we've got you covered. We're the only place you can find Duralast. Batteries more consumers choose. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination, where help is always in stock. Claims based on a proprietary consumer study and data from the NPD Group 2019.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-568-2790. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems. If you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-568-2790. That's 800-568-2790. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with, call Big Lou at 800-568-2790.
This is the Odd Couple.
All the way live.
It's Chris Broussard
Here's what I have to say.
and Rob Parker.
What's happening?
2 dudes who try to get it right.
Well, I've been right a lot, so you've been wrong a lot too.
And they're never at a loss for something to say.
I'm not going to mince words. You're right. Yeah.
It's the Odd Couple. Chris Broussard and Rob Parker.
Think about that.
Weekdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio. When Dan Patrick speaks, you better stop and listen. This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Yeah. One idea that we had a few years ago to save the bowl game, so let's say there's a Fiesta Bowl. The Final Four becomes the Fiesta Bowl, not like it is now. But the first round of games, the round of 8 teams, that's the Gator Bowl and the Bluebonnet Bowl. I'm not using the name joking, but that could be the GoDaddy Bowl. That could be the Cookie Bowl. That could be the AutoZone Bowl. Everyone gets a bowl.
Well, they're worried about how many games can fans travel to. And, of course, they were factoring in that there could be a pandemic, but how many games will fans go to? Because these cities, these destinations, they want to get a packed house in there. And that's where if you have a couple of home games on, do you get to the Final Four and make that home game? And make that, let's say Alabama is playing Ohio State, and Alabama's the higher seed, they get to host this. But all the other bowl games could lead us to, and how many games are you going to have during the regular season? Because you're going to get up to 15, 16 games. I mean, you're going to be treating these guys like they're pros. And we're going to get there because that's where the money is. But I would be overly cautious of expanding this now, because if you do, then you're not looking back. It's rare when you go, on second thought, we have too many playoff teams. That just doesn't happen. Baseball's expanding, and I don't think they're going to look back. Now, if you don't make the playoffs now, it should be difficult to keep your job, because half the leagues make the playoffs. And you saw that with baseball.
If you want to know what Dan Patrick said next, just podcast it by searching The Dan Patrick Show. And as always, you can listen to Dan Patrick live weekdays, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio. Sometimes Colin Cowherd waxes poetic.
He is really something, man.
He talks a good game.
Good luck. Here's the playbook.
And Colin will get right to the point.
Let's make the complicated